there are certain things, no matter which political side you're on, that, man, there's a lot of lunacy happening and being argued. And maybe that we all have more in common than we think, and like, if you look at studies with social media, 10% of the users are 90% of the loudest ones, meaning that they're posting the most often. And so it leads us to believe that our society, specifically in America, that we all hate each other. But truly, it really is like just these fringe, the extreme right and the extreme left, who are just the loudest. And most of us have common ground, and then we're just kind of forgetting that we have common ground. And so that's kind of what my goal was, to make it sci-fi. Would I say that I was trying to predict the future? I don't think really in any story I try to do that. I tried to, like I said, I tried to put future dates because I wanted to make it reflective of how I felt society was or was going. But the future would allow me to cushion that blow, so to speak.
I want to go back to what you said about how, because the people on social media that are the loudest, it leads us to believe that we're more different than we actually are. We have more in common, like you said.
Yeah.
I actually do think little by little, however, it's spreading that it's kind of infecting the people who do, like, who I don't want to say normal, but you said like not the fringe people. I do feel like that is almost infecting the common people a little bit as well. Like, I feel like sometimes I know from personal experience, like I have really good, kind-hearted, loving friends and even some family that will get in these aggressive political fights based on ideas that they saw on social media. And that might not actually align with their own beliefs, Yeah,
and it's interesting that you mentioned that. I was thinking about this the other day, and as we age, how friendships, relationships change, sometimes for the better, as they evolve, sometimes for the worse as they devolve. And the one thing that I think is probably the most prevalent is exactly what you just said, that a lot of times people aren't arguing with who they're arguing with, if that makes sense. They're actually arguing against an ideology. They're like, so if you have a lifelong childhood friend that you guys have gone through everything together, and when you're maybe teenagers, maybe you're right and they're left, or you're left and they're right. When you're teenagers, you learn to have those conversations because you're like, hey, we can talk about this because you and I are different, and that's okay. In your 20s, you're still able to do that. But then as you get mid-30s and beyond, you start hardening in your stance. And I'm not saying that that's good, but it's what happens. You start hardening in your stance, and then it's not that you're arguing with people anymore. You're arguing against, like I said, that ideology where you're constantly being bombasted, whether it's MSNBC or whether it's Fox News. You're now arguing against that line of thinking and no longer having the conversation with your friend. So when you and your friends have a discussion and you don't agree, it escalates very quickly because it's, again, threatening your ideology, one, but two, you forget that you're talking to a friend that you can have disagreements with, and now you're talking to all the negative comments that you've seen online. You're talking to all the authority figures that are speaking about this issue. And it's fascinating to me because obviously that's why we're seeing really the degradation of relationships, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendships. Politics have never caused this much damage in terms of how our society functions as they have within the last 12, even to 16 years.
Hey guys, it's me, your host, Andrea Pranzatelli. If you enjoyed this clip today, please don't forget to hit subscribe. It is my dream to become a full-time podcaster, and your support helps more than you could possibly know. So again, hit that subscribe button to help me keep the momentum going on this channel. Also, for every single clip, there is a link in the description to the full episode if you would like to hear the full episode. And I also have a link to my Instagram below if you'd like to follow me on Instagram as well. So that's it. Have a good day, guys. Bye.